Strong financial management is key for scaling up your business as you look at protecting and growing your returns. Don't miss the Absa Women in Business Leadership Masterclass series, where I will be unpacking key aspects of financial management strategies.
400 kwacha. You go and spend another 300. They're looking like very small amounts. But when you do keep a tab, by the end of the month, you realize that you've actually incurred a lot. And it just helps you to be more, to build financial discipline when you do have effective budgeting. The second one is linked to budgeting, which is the cash management. Sometimes you can have a lot of assets, but what do you actually have as cash in hand? It may be tied up in assets, and you find that you don't have cash to be able to meet your day-to-day operations. And that's where you now find every mid-month, you're going to borrow to be able to finance your business for the rest of the month. It's because you are not effectively assessing what your cash needs will be for the entire period. So you could do your budgeting from a monthly perspective. Actually, it's good to do it over a horizon. I always say, think ahead at least 2 years. At least 2 years, have that budget in place, and then break it down into smaller pieces to say, what are my quarterly targets? So I know what I'm hoping to achieve by the end of 2026. But then you break it down to say, what will I achieve on a quarterly basis, further on a monthly basis? Then it becomes easier for you to even be able to monitor your success or be able to track your success. Then risk management. We live in a world where we're covered by so many risks, and you cannot run away from that. It could be, even things like theft in the store. That's a risk because your employees are not loyal and they're stealing. You didn't plan for that. So stock losses is a potential risk. Maybe people just decide, things have become a bit tough. Shopping for clothing and everything is now off my radar. I just need to make sure I'm covering food. So meaning the demand has also reduced. Those are just certain examples of certain things that we would not really consider as risk, because sometimes we think risk is those very big things. And maybe if you're in the agricultural sector, it's a drought. You would have planned, everything was working perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden, hit by a drought. It's a natural cause. You can't blame it on anyone. But then how have you planned for that? And then there comes in the importance of diversifying your portfolio. So if it's farming, are you then focusing on one crop that is heavily dependent on irrigation or water? Or are you also looking at certain drought-resistant crops to just try and mitigate in case there's actually a drought in that particular period? Then an investment analysis. For every investment that you want to enter in, sometimes we do a disservice to ourselves because we're saying, I want to be the only one who's successful in this space. I should be seen as a trailblazer. But let's be open to learning from others. Let's be open to get ideas from those that have already passed through that route. They've already crossed that path, that road. Because I cannot say I'm annoyed, or I believe learning is continuous. And even if you are a trailblazer, you'll be shocked. A novice in that space, someone who's just starting up in that space, may have more brilliant ideas. And it's always important to surround yourself with people that are maybe more knowledgeable than you. Even as a team, when you're building up your team, you get strong people. Don't say I should be the sharpest person in my business. Because even that same shop attendant that you have, or maybe it's your factory workers, the people that you have in your business, your associates, they will be able to come up with brilliant ideas that will be able to just kind of help you assess each and every investment. So for every investment that you want to make, when you're buying assets, if you're in a transportation business, does it then just mean you say, I think I need to buy 10 more Yangos? Have you assessed what return you're getting even from the current portfolio or the current fleet that you have? And maybe, it even gets to basics like, what type of vehicle do you buy? because you need to get one that is cost effective. So that's where the investment analysis comes in as a strong element around the scope of our financial management. Then we spoke about reporting. So keeping records is very, very important. And something that we don't like to talk about is compliance, especially tax compliance. We like to say tax is for the big banks like Absa. No, tax is for each and every one of us. And tax actually even starts from a personal level. How many of us do our personal tax returns?
Okay, so that is a question for the audience in the room and online. How many of us are actually doing our personal
tax returns?
So that's a question posed.
Well, brilliant. So at least I've seen 3 ladies. So that's not for your business, but for you as an individual, person. So you can actually do that on the ZRA portal, and it's very, very easy. You just need to get someone maybe who's into finance or tax to just help you once. And you'll be shocked that sometimes you even find yourself in a receivable position and you're like, okay, so I can actually get some cash out of here because of the certain decisions maybe that you are making through the year. So it's just very important for us to take a keen interest from a personal level and even for our businesses. And you don't need to end up with a very big audit firm. There's so many registered tax advisors with Zika that you could actually work with that will help you just navigate and be able to make sure that you are compliant from a tax perspective, a perspective, and dependent on which stream of business you have taken, the relevant bodies that are supervising. Is it the environmental agency? So whoever it is. So it's just very important for us to just make sure that we may keep compliance at the center of a business, because there's nothing stressful. Instead of you focusing on growing your business, you're now running around whenever you hear that there's an inspection, or maybe is there an amnesty. So please, let's just make sure that compliance is one we keep as a key element of financial management.
So maybe Venus, just before you go ahead, I do note that there are hands being raised online. Irene, I did see your hand go up. Sally, I did see your hand as well. So I'll just kindly request that at this point, please hold those questions. We will be coming to a Q&A session. So I'll just kindly request that everyone who has a question, you can take down the question, and then at the point at which we are going to start the Q&A, then you can raise your hand. But I am seeing the hands that are being raised. I just thought it's important. Thank you.
Yeah, and then finally, it's linked to compliance. Is just make sure that all your regulatory reporting is done on time. If you need to file in financial statements, your financial records are actually being filed in on time. So having looked at these elements of, in terms of what lies in scope for financial management, the key aspects I would like to summarize based on these points that I've highlighted is firstly, understand your financial status. What is your financial status? That is the first key thing. Secondly, manage your cash flows. And once you have managed your cash flows, you then need to go ahead and ensure that you separate your personal and business funds. Those two should be separated. Don't say, no, my hair looks terrible today. I don't have cash, I've run out. You actually give yourself a salary. Assign a salary to yourself. And if you finish it in week 1, just find a way of surviving without touching business resources. Or unless if you're actually getting an advance from the employee and you deduct from your business and you deduct it in your next month's allowance. Then we spoke about a strong credit scoring as another important element. And then let us invest in growth. So it's not about you looking at it to say, all the money I'm getting is just to be spent. You need to be able to sacrifice at some point and literally say, I need to be investing in growth of my business. And then key to this is monitor your financial results. So what are the financial results that you are getting from the business that you're running? Now, I guess you may be saying, okay, she's literally been highlighting high-level things that if I went ahead and read out, I would be able to see myself. I just thought I'll bring it down and touch on a few pointers. So the first one I wanted to speak on is managing personal and business finances, because that's one area that we usually struggle with as women. And just generally, because you find we don't want to have that distinct split between what is business and what is personal. So some ways that you can actually try and manage this is, firstly, open separate accounts. So keep personal and business transactions separate from a bank account perspective, even from a monitoring perspective. The second thing you can do is set a salary for yourself. So just because, remember, you are literally working for your business. You are an employee of your business. So set a salary for yourself and avoid using business funds for personal expenses. The third thing I would like to highlight is ensure you track all your expenses and income. When you do that, you find that you become more disciplined. And then apart from the tracking of expenses and income for both your personal side and the business, and you can even invest in a software. And I think for us as Absa, we actually do have something that we have been piloting that can actually help you as business women. Because I know sometimes we say, but I don't have money to go and pay a professional accountant. So it's just to try and give you all the basics around some of these elements that I am raising. And then establish clear financial boundaries. So keep even credit. When you borrow for business, do not touch it. Come and get a loan from the bank, and the next thing, we're seeing you in the latest Range Rover Sport. Yeah, so because that money was meant to be invested in the business. So just be comfortable in the space that you're in and know that in a few years' time, I'll be able to buy my dream car when the business has actually been able to grow. And then the other thing I just wanted to perhaps highlight after the distinction between personal and business finances is having financial strategies for stability and growth. So you need to come up with strategies that will help you grow your business and ensure your business is stable. The first thing you can do is effective budget and planning. I think I did speak into this around the importance of budgeting and planning. So make sure you just create a monthly budget for both personal and business expenditure, and then plan for your taxes, emergencies, and reinvestments. So make sure you're investing from your personal side as well as the corporate side. You could even say, okay, fine, maybe I'm going to invest in corporate bonds or government bonds for my personal gain. So then it just kind of makes sure that you're not straining the business in terms of your day-to-day expenditure. Emergencies. This is the harsh reality. Black tax. Do you literally budget for your black tax?
And maybe Venus, you just
I just need to explain what black tax is. Black tax is those numerous SMSs you are getting. The child is sick. No, here in the village, there's this problem. So all those the family support that you are giving, the funerals, and maybe for a funeral, yes, it's not expected, but just always have that buffer set aside to be able to help you on those rainy days. But then there's even something that is worse. Kitchen parties, chiranga mlilos. How many committees are you in at any given time? There's no harm in you literally saying, I've exhausted my limit. And that actually taxes you it's a black tax from two angles. Firstly, time, because you want to attend all those meetings. Secondly, resources. So you need to be distinct and say, at any given time, I'll only be in 2 committees, or is it 3 committees? You decide, or 1. Then I'll be able to fund an additional 3, or is it 2? So have you set yourself a target for 5? Where even I will help on the actual day when the event happens, I'll give in my contribution, but expecting to see me at a meeting every weekend is not going to happen. Because this is where we now start straining ourselves, we are tired, we're exhausted, and it starts impacting our mental health. So please, those are some elements that you can actually, sometimes we want to see ourselves as, I'm the one that needs to be seen as always showing up. You can show up, but not at your own expense. Then after you've done all those contributions, you want to have a new outfit for each of those events. There's nothing wrong with wearing the same outfit twice. Yeah, I know. It's a touchy element, right? Yes, I need to have a new hairstyle. So if I went with the 20 inches for this one, this other one, I should go with a short haircut. All those things. But it's about you saying, if you can afford it, it's okay. But it's about you setting the boundaries for yourself. Then the second part about your ability to grow your business is smart debt management. Are you literally being, intentional around the way you use your business loans for growth? I am a firm believer that a loan should not be for consumption. A loan should be for investment. Yes, sometimes you invest it, things will go wrong, and the business will not really actualize the way it is, but at least you would have tried. But where you're borrowing for expenditure, it's usually not the wisest. I would rather you borrow for investment, then the return from that investment is what you now utilize as expenditure. And we also spoke about good credit scoring, so I'll not touch that. That's another thing you need to think about as you're looking at smart debt. Then diversify your income streams. How many income streams do you have? Are all your eggs in one basket? Look at the skills that you have. I know around the table there are some excellent, some fantastic marketers. I will not expose names. Yes. So are you using that skill, your marketing skill, for instance? So you could have another business and maybe also try and utilize your passion. You could actually gain income from what your passion is. Is your passion makeup? Yes. And then utilize it. So I think those are some things that we could actually do it. And I just wanted to refer to a quote by Dave Ramsey that says, a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. So a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. That's what a budget helps you with. So those are some things that you can try and look at in terms of strategies for stability and growth. Now, as you are growing your business, you're also looking to attract funding, right? I think that's usually the elephant in the room. Women will say, how do I access funding? First of all, you need to make sure you maintain clean financial records. You need to maintain clean financial records, because when you're maintaining your clean financial records, that then helps you. It's you keeping, well-maintained financial statements, tax records. Do you have a tax clearance certificate? If you don't have it, a number of people that you'd potentially be a supplier for or a vendor for will just say, we can't deal with you. It's a basic thing. It looks like a basic thing, but that's the impact it would have. And you end up losing out on key deals. It could even be NAPSA. You're submitting a bid and they're telling you, no, you haven't been remitting NAPSA for all your employees. And on the back of that, you lose a significant bid. So those are some things to think around well-maintained tax records as well as financial statements, regulatory records, essentially. And where you feel you do not have all the relevant skills, you can work with an accountant to just help you build up on your financial health. You can also work with, just seek advice, even from bankers such as ourselves. That's why we're there as well, right? To just try and help you navigate some of these journeys. The second thing is building a strong credit profile. And one way you can build a strong credit profile is just ensuring that you pay your debts on time, you manage your credit responsibly, and then also maintain good relationships with lenders. So I gave an example where you genuinely borrow with a plan, then business just doesn't work out. Things just don't work out. You make a loss. You're struggling. Don't run away. Don't run away. Go and engage the lender. Go and engage the bank. You'll be shocked. We actually have departments within the bank that help recovery of organizations if you do get to that point. So we'll hold your hand and not say, it's not like we just want to make sure we repossess the house that you placed as collateral. That's usually the last resort. So please maintain a good, and it just doesn't have to be a bank. Even that friend, that village banking that you went and borrowed from, if you're feeling you're overwhelmed, put up your hand. And as opposed to trying to run away, because then that just complicates matters. Then you need to demonstrate business growth and profitability in your business for you to be able to attract funding. So it's important to show growth, and don't expect significant growth overnight. Just make sure you have, steady growth, and you're showing a clear financial plan. And that's why I was saying it's important for you to have at least a 2-year horizon. Actually, the minimum is 3 years, to be honest. That's the ideal. And it's called a medium-term plan. So a short-term plan is your 12 months. Medium-term plan, 3 years. Where do I see myself in the next 3 years? Even as you are going to a lender, they can say, okay, this person has foresight, and they literally know what they're trying to get to. And then you also need to highlight opportunities for market expansion, the other products that you'd like to get into, the linkages that you have, building on the relationships and networks that you have. Then finally, leverage on your banking and financial advisory services. This is where people like Vanji come in, and myself. As your bankers, we should actually be able to say, okay, how can we help you tailor solutions for your business as Absa? And then even attending a program like this one. So kudos to all of you that are here. This is about improving your financial literacy and building your skill set. Continuously build on your skill set. Yes, you may feel, I'm already an expert in this field, but it's interesting. I'm ever learning myself, especially when you're in a field like accounting and banking, where there are new developments every day. And if you're not reading, you'll be left behind. There's a new accounting standard, and you're like, but what was wrong with the way we were doing it 20 years ago? But it's because of the developments that are coming. So there's sustainability coming up, climate change. How are you embracing change and revolution that is coming about? And how are you literally fusing that into your business? You may say, I'm just into clothing. But you'll be shocked. There are now people that are saying, no, my children can't wear clothes that are not sustainably manufactured. No, did they use child labor in manufacturing these clothes? Is it 100% cotton? There are all those nuances. So you'll be left lagging behind if you then do not improve on yourself. So as we conclude, as Absa, how can we support women in banking? What is it we can do to try and help you? Firstly, it's coming up with solutions that are tailored for women. So for example, we have our business loans and credit facilities, which will literally offer special financing options for women entrepreneurs like yourselves. We'll have invoice discounting as one example, short-term loans. These are some things that we can actually try and structure dependent on what you're trying to do, whatever product you have. And then we also have developed women-focused banking accounts. And, needs are different, right? And usually for women, one of the things I said, we spoke about financial records. The other thing is, okay, now it's different. But I think for the past generations, it was said women rarely even had a title deed in their name. The properties would be in the husband's name. They are working together, and look, even now we still do it. And when you now want to borrow, your partner is telling you, no, you can't take the title deed. So there's some challenges that we have to deal with. So therefore, it's now trying to come up with products that save the women folk, and this could be business and savings accounts with flexible terms, because we understand that the needs of the women are different. Then investment and wealth advisory. We just don't want you to keep money sitting in a current account. This is where we now advise you to say, you know what, you have this cash that's just been sitting for 3 months. Do you know that you could have actually been able to grow it? by maybe picking it in a mega saver account? Is it maybe investing in government bonds? So there's so many options that are there. And depending on your individual needs, that's where you now have to have the conversation on a one-to-one basis, and it cannot be done for a big audience. I cannot do justice for a big audience such as this. Then in terms of business growth and capacity building, we offer financial literacy and training. Just this morning, we were just is that a relaunch? Or it was
it was a media launch.
Yeah, a media launch. We had a media launch for a partnership that we have with the Citizens Economic Empowerment. And we have literally said, how can we help the marketeers upscale? So instead of the woman going to Soweto at 04 or going to the farms, buying the chickens at 04, then she goes and sits in the market the whole day selling, or even the vegetables, or the carpenter, or the beans. Can we create that value chain for her where she can maybe get the financial literacy, know how to prepare financial records, how to look at the risk management elements, essentially the entire financial management principles. And we'll have a course done for these marketeers through, we're going to use CEC as well as the ZDA, and I'm trying to think of the scheme, the market cooperatives.
The cooperatives.
Sorry, we're using cooperatives. So we use cooperatives where we can say, maybe even start packaging those vegetables nicely so that you can start supplying a supermarket chain. I'm just citing that as an example of how we need to be seen to be adding value to our clients. And that is what we would like to do for women around the table and on the call, is to say, can we have tailored products dependent on what your business needs are? Because they will vary for business to business. We'll offer mentorship and coaching. And then most importantly, networking. So when you sit here, you'll find that maybe there's someone who actually produces the raw material for what you're doing, or someone who's who's able to connect you to your value chain or get you an additional customer, or just be able to help you enhance your product or service. So networking is one that we offer. Then around supporting women entrepreneurs, we have access to funding and grants, which then kind of offers an opportunity for risk sharing for the respective women. So it's just to help you qualify for financing by making sure that you're financing ready in terms of the financial records, even the potential for growth that is there for the business as well. And also partnerships with women-focused organizations. So we do have collaborations that help uplift women entrepreneurs, and there's quite a bit of detail around that dependent on the sector that you're in. So we did have one, for example, a risk sharing, where they would assess, like CEC is a good example that we just highlighted, where CEC kind of assesses, identifies, and then on the back of that, we say we're able to on-lend through a cooperative, or of course, it may be your business is showing steady growth. It could be assessed on a case-by-case basis to see how do we then help this business. So for you to be able to get a sense of something, I think for the women in the room, these are already our clients, and we appreciate you. But for others, you could visit any of our Absa Zambia branches for financial support. For those in Lusaka, we have the Women in Business proposition just here that you can engage through Vanji or the rest of the team. And also just sign up for our networking events, even like this, what we're having right now, the MasterClass. This is the first of many MasterClasses. Today we're looking at financial management. We'll be looking at leadership, risk management, the legal nuances of a business, and of course, it will have a subject matter expert that will be covering each and every one of these spaces. I can't speak for those because I am in the financial world, so I'll leave legal to the lawyers. Yes, yeah. And just in closing, I wanted to say, women do play a critical role for the success of driving business growth in Zambia. You know, they say when you empower a woman, you have empowered a family, right? And a community. That is true. So I would like to see more women businesses being empowered, and therefore just helping the growth of a nation, achieving the GDP targets that we have as a country. And then as Absa Zambia, we are indeed committed to empowering women in business. And we're going to do this through leadership programs, financial support, and capacity building. So it's not just financial support, but we want to look at the holistic element of the business and see how do we then help you thrive. And we do have some success stories. I don't have permission maybe to mention the names of the clients, but maybe where one was just buying raw materials, just repackaging, but now they're employing women out there or workers out there that are able to grow some of the raw materials. They're now doing the packaging. They've been able to increase their number of stores. So it's such success stories that we want to see. We don't want to have one or two, but would like to see a situation where we're talking about 20, 30, 50 such success stories in the different sectors that we operate in. And then finally, women, I just like to encourage us and say that networking, mentorship, continuous learning are keys to success. So if you network, you look out for mentorship. Even if you feel you're a successful businesswoman, there's always an opportunity to just have a mentorship opportunity from someone. And continuous learning will be pivotal for you to succeed in your business, not just from a financial management perspective, but holistically. So on that note, I would like to say thank you, and I hope we've been able to grasp on the 4 C's, the 4 A's of financial management.
Thank you. Thank you, Venus. I think she deserves a round of applause for us. Thank you so much. I think even for someone like me, there's been a lot of takeaways from the session that we have had. I hope for the audience in the room and online, you did actually find the session useful for your business. Even at personal level, I think we have been asked to take a reflection. So at this point, and maybe before I come in and summarize what my key takeaways were, we can just quickly get into the Q&A. So if you do have a question, if you'd like to pose the question, post it in the chat. Please go ahead and post the question in the chat. We will be able to read it. Or you can raise your hand and then you can unmute your mic and ask the question. And then we'll be able to take questions. So maybe as we are waiting, okay, Mudenda, I do see your hand up. So we've got a question from Mudenda Munkombwe. She has raised your hand. Mudenda, if you can just unmute, and then Venus can be able to take the question. Mudenda, over to you.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to thank you for organizing this workshop. And Venus, your presentation was just excellent. There are just so many takeaways from this. So I'm actually attending this from Edinburgh in Scotland. And I just want you people in Zambia to be aware, especially the banks, that your clients are not just in Zambia, but we are also here in the diaspora. I'm starting a business because I want to come back to Zambia. So if you could please consider those of us who are out of the country, we are doing business, or we want to start businesses, and how you can accommodate us. I think that's all I have to say, but otherwise, I'm so glad that I've attended this workshop.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you so much for that question. And I think very quickly what we'll be able to do, we will post our email address, which is womeninbusiness@absa.africa, and we'll also indicate the team. So there's 3 ladies behind the team. That would be myself, Vanji, we have Mulenga and Faith, and we'll be able to help you. So regardless of where you are sitting, so it's really amazing that we have somebody from the diaspora attending the session. But whether you're also in another town in the country or even within Lusaka, you are able to contact us. We're a very agile team. We'll be able to respond very quickly, and then we'll be able to share the information and just have a further conversation with you and schedule time as well. So Mdenda, we're looking forward to getting in touch with you. So I think very quickly you'll be able to see the email address just pop up with the team, the core team that will be able to assist you.
Okay. And thank you so much, Mudenda, for the kind words. And I've also noticed on the chat, I think there's someone from Denmark as well. So we do appreciate all those that are in the diaspora as well. And as Absa, it's not just about our Zambian clients. We do have a diaspora proposition as well, though more from the retail perspective, but as indicated by Banji, would be happy to just maybe share our details, and then you could reach out, we could reach out to yourselves. And to just show commitment that we have for those in the diaspora. I think, was it last year?
The other year.
The other year, I actually personally traveled to the US to just try and see how we can best help Zambians in the US who are looking at maybe starting up businesses in Zambia, etc. So we've taken the feedback that perhaps we need to be looking at other. We've done South Africa and the US. So yes. Perhaps we could look at other areas as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we have another question. I think, Natasha, you have your hand up. So Natasha, you can unmute, ask your question, and then we'll maybe take a few questions in the room as well. We do have a few hands in the room. So Natasha, over to you.
Now we have it.
Sorry. Can you mute, Mercy? Natasha, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much for your powerful insight, Venus. I noticed you had touched on separating. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. We can, Natasha.
Yeah, I noticed you had touched on separating business finances from personal finances. So sometimes we get into businesses in order to support our families, and separation of the two will always be that gray area. So what has worked for you, and how best can we apply it in our various fields?
Okay. Thank you so much, Natasha. What has worked for me is effective planning and budgeting. I literally plan my activities, starting with family holidays, trips, purchases that need to be done, and investment options. And even to the minute level of basic vegetable and bread purchases in the house. So when you do have that detailed planning in place, as well as budgeting, that helps you. And then I also mentioned that you just need to make sure that you have a certain salary assigned to yourself. And even for those that may be in employment and you're saying the business has just been put aside to try and supplement, when you get your salary, not everything should be spent immediately. I look at the 80-30 rule or 80-20-10 rule. And I'm giving a personal example. So for me, non-negotiable, 10% tithe. And after I have done my 10% tithe, I then have 20%, which is going to savings. So I take that 20% to savings on a monthly perspective. And then, so I've now done 30%, right? Leaving the 70. From that 70, yes, there's a 10%, which is for wants.
Okay.
And then there's another 20% for investments. The balance is what is utilized for expenditure, be it your school fees, whatever it is. So you just need to be intentional and say, yes, I started this business for the family, but I'll make sure that a certain percent, and you assess the percentages yourself. There's no, okay, I'm just giving the best practice, but you literally set a percentage aside and say, this amount needs to be reinvested in the business. Otherwise, the business will not grow. So it could even be 50% being reinvested, and 50% is what you now split against all your other needs.
Okay.
And just a disclaimer, the topic of financial management that we were looking at is one that would have needed even 2-3 days. So I was just touching on the surface in the 1 hour that was available. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so maybe we'll take a question in the room. Please, just as you raise your hand, you can just indicate your name so that Venus would adequately address you. Thank you. You can go ahead, yes.
So in an
Okay.
So would you consider borrowing to finance an order, I guess, or
Okay, so maybe for the audience online, we did have a question that was just posed. We do. I don't think you'd be able to hear the questions that are coming in from the audience in the room, so I will be repeating. The question is, would you invest, borrowing or taking a loan for an order, investment, or expenditure? Right?
yes.
Did I get that correct?
Would you consider it?
Yeah. So I think she just needs clarity in terms of wanting to borrow money for an order. Is that prudent? Is it good business practice or not? Thank you.
So this is an order for your business.
Yeah.
That is not expenditure. So that is now literally you pumping back into your business. You're investing back into your business. Yes. But what's just important is you need to assess the money I'm borrowing plus the interest that I need to pay back. When I order these things and come and sell them, will I be able to make my margin or my profit? And will I be able to repay the debt? So you just need to give priority to the repayment of the debt.
Okay. Do we have any other question in the room before we go back online? Okay, we don't have. Natasha, I see your hand. I'm not sure if this is a new hand or an old hand.
It's an on-hand, sorry.
Okay, so we have Charity. Charity, you can go ahead with your question.
Good afternoon. I had logged out. I'm not sure if this question was asked. Is it a good idea to borrow for reinvestment? I would like some clarity on that.
I'm actually laughing. It's like Charity knows what some of us major in. Yeah, so it's a good idea. As long as the return that you'll be getting on the reinvestment is higher than what you need to pay back. So if the interest that you're getting on your loan is 28%, and then the reinvestment will only give you 20% return, I would say no. But if it will give you 28% plus a margin, so you'd get maybe 32, 33, and you know what you're hoping to get, and it's a viable reinvestment, then good to go.
Okay. Can we maybe get a practical example?
Okay.
Yes, just
Okay.
so that we put context to that.
All right, so you get a personal loan, or you get a loan from a bank at 22% or 25%. 25%. And then government bonds interest rate is at 32. These are just hypothetical numbers I'm giving, is at 32%. There's actually no harm in you borrowing and going to get a government bond that will give you a higher yield. But then you just need to know that you have enough cash flows to be able to meet your monthly repayments. Because for your government bond, you're only going to get a coupon after 6 months. But at that 6 months point, depending on the coupon you have received, you could actually decide to even pay down on your loan, at least a certain good share of your loan. Or another good one, if you're in business, would actually be to say, you know what, I would like to borrow, get a loan, then buy shares in this business. So maybe someone is selling 10% shareholding in their business, 10% shareholding, get that shareholding, but you should have that emergency cover before you start getting a return, because the likelihood is the return will only come much later. It will be delayed. So in the interim, or unless if you've made an arrangement to say that the borrowing I've got, I only pay back after 6 months or after 1 year when I'm getting a return. So those are some practical examples.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. I do have a question that has been posted from Faith. Faith says, thank you so much for this insightful session. As a woman navigating work without a side hustle stroke business, what long-term investment plan can one venture into? And I think this is a question for a lot of people, because not everyone knows their passion. You know, there's some people who are still figuring it out, or you just don't have the time to start a side business. So what advice would you give us?
There's so many options. One, and it also, you need to kind of reflect on who you are as an individual. The first one is investment property. So you could actually buy a piece of land, buy a property, depending on how much, as I'm saying, a piece of land if you don't have enough money to buy a house. And the problem we have is we want to go and buy in these very prime areas. You say, no, I can't afford a plot because plots in Ibex Hill are 650, 1 million kwacha. There's no harm you going to buy a plot right now in 10 miles if that's where you can afford it. Right now, you think 10 miles is very far, you'll be shocked what will happen in no time. I always give a classic example of Minwood. When I was much younger in my career, people were telling me, land in Minwood, and I was like, Ibex Minwood. I go and live in that bush. But what has happened right now? And look at the value of the properties. So an asset like land, invest in it if you can, and it's never too much. Get as much as you can. That's one example. Second, fixed deposits through the banks. If you have some cash that you believe you can put aside, invest in a fixed deposit account. So a fixed deposit account is where you're being promised a higher return than if it was just sitting in a savings account or a current account, but you cannot draw at any given point. Another investment option, shares on the stock exchange. You don't need to go and buy huge number of shares, but just say, get some in maybe 3-4 listed entities. And that little dividend that's coming through can actually try and help you meet your day-to-day costs. Then I spoke about government bonds and treasury bills. So investing in government securities. Actually, government securities is really a good one to cover for things such as, you know, when you're getting your 6-month coupon, that's what can help you cover with basic things like school fees, your holidays, and then that final payout, if let's say you get a 10-year bond or 15-year bond, that's one that you can utilize for long-term plans, especially for those with children that you need to start thinking about university. The mistake we make, we want to start thinking about university when a child is in grade 10, grade 8, but the golden rule is when they're in preschool, start a saving plan. Because if you start a saving plan where you're putting aside even 1,000 kwacha a month from the time they're in preschool, imagine by the time they get to grade 12. And there are so many savings plans that are available. There are some that actually do it in faith, even before they have a child, they start the plan, you know, so that by the time the child gets to university, they don't have to worry. Then wonder, but how is this person managing to take 3 children to the UK or to Trident or whatever it is? It's because they had effective planning. So those are some methods that you can actually utilize.
Okay, so I think we'll take the last 2 questions. There is a hand from, 3. I see Irene. Irene had raised her hand much earlier. So there's a question from Mudenda on how to buy shares on Lusaka Stock Exchange. So Luce, how do we buy shares, if at all we can answer that question? If not, we'll be able to divert the question we do have a specialized department on that front. We'll just ask you to drop us your email, Mudenda, and then we can get you to the right people who can give you the right business advisory service. And then Natasha, Samba, you have your hand, and then we'll get to Irene. Irene will be the last question, and then we'll have a close. So Samba, over to you. And then maybe I'll ask Irene to come in, and then Venus can take the 2 questions at the time. Thank you. Samba, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Venus. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. I think mine is basically a comment. I've been banking with Absa for a number of years, and it's only yesterday my friend Status, who works for Absa, when I saw her advertising this MasterClass, I'm like, what is this about? And she's just telling me, there's women in business and so on. And some of the things she told me, I thought, okay, it's a very innovative way of helping women, but I think I'm not the only woman who didn't know about it. So perhaps the plea to improve the publicity around this product, and maybe in this meeting, maybe briefly just tell us what Women in Business is about, how people can join. Thank you very much.
Irene, you can ask your question and then we'll respond. Irene, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Venus, that was a very good presentation, very informative. I think I've learned more than I expected. Yeah, so my question is around entrepreneurship. I'm an entrepreneur myself in the health sector. One question that I've always asked is, I feel in the health sector we are not usually considered, especially when it comes to programs to do with financing. So is there any special reason why health is not usually considered when it comes to financing? And then secondly, I just wanted to find out, because I'm very glad to hear that actually Absa is thinking of women in this way. Very interesting and very encouraging. But then I wanted to find out, do you have any plans to come up with low interest loans for women in business? Thank you.
Okay, so Venus, maybe I'll suggest that you take Irene's two questions, and then I will come in to answer Samba's question around just giving more information around women in business, and then maybe do a wrap up for today's session.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so thank you, Mudenda, Samba, and Irene for your questions. So Mudenda, for shares, you can actually do it through a stockbroker. Mm-hmm. And apart from a stockbroker, even you'll find banks as well. And as was mentioned by Vanji, we do have a special unit that actually deals with that. So we'll just share the details, or maybe you could just reach out to the same Women in Business and they could then lead you to the right people within the bank. But if not the banks, and even through stockbrokers, because then those be monitoring and they would help you create an account. And it's a similar thing even for government bonds. You can do it yourself through the Central Securities Depository, create your own account at the Bank of Zambia, or work through your commercial banks as well. Those are some options. Then Irene, health sector. I hope you saw my first slide where I literally had women in uniform specifically in the health sector. Mm-hmm. So for us, we do not discriminate. We look at all sectors and we just look at what is the offer on the table? What is it? What is the proposition? What are you hoping to do? So happy to just maybe have a further discussion to fully appreciate which element of the health sector you're in, but I can actually attest to you that we do have clients in the health sector, maybe not just from the women's perspective, but generally across our SME and corporate segment. So happy to have a further conversation to just fully understand which angle of the health sector you're looking at. Low interest loans. If you recall, I did mention that we get into partnerships and try and get funding. So some partnerships that we enter into, and maybe Vanji can actually amplify on this, is where we get a risk-sharing partner that says we'll put in a certain amount of capital, the bank puts in a certain amount of capital as well, and because of that angle where we received part of the funding that we're offering to you, we're able to offer some discounted rates. And what also determines interest rates is we do have the monetary policy rate, which is deemed to be the base rate, plus the risk profile of the respective entity. So if we can actually see that you have put in risk mitigants, and that's why I said it's important for you to assess and manage your risk. That also helps with the pricing of your respective products. But Vanji can just maybe mention how we have tried to mitigate the issue of the low interest rates as she's responding to Samba on improving publicity. And Samba, we appreciate the feedback around the the publicity element. And that's why we even started off with this set of masterclasses. So this is the first one, but you'll definitely be seeing more of these. Banji, over to you.
Thank you, Venus. And thank you, Samba, for the feedback. We have taken it. And maybe my ask would also be that you just drop us an email, or you can drop your email in the chat, or you can send us an email at womeninbusiness@absa.africa. So the Women in Business is a proposition that the bank took as a strategic intent to be able to address some of the gaps that we are seeing in the market. So ours is not a product. It really hones in to become a proposition, because we are looking at key aspects that we believe would be able to support the growth and development of women-led and women-owned businesses. So you will see that in the market, you have two types of businesses. It's either 100% owned by the woman, or there is a partnership, but the day-to-day running of the business is being done by the woman. And we are saying, as a bank, how do we come in to support these type of businesses so that they can be equal participation in terms of economic growth for the country? We want women to be at the forefront of, making key decisions, having a voice at the table. Or if there is no seat at the table, how do we just create the table for ourselves? So that really becomes important for us. And we are anchored on 4 pillars. So the first one being access to finance. By virtue of who we are as a bank, we are saying, and I think Venus did touch on that, how are we able to provide affordable financing to our women enterprises? So this comes in through our ordinary lending that we do to businesses, but also through the partnerships that Venus just alluded to. So we do have a partner in place right now where we are able to provide better pricing when it comes to interest rates in the agribusiness sector. So you're looking at the whole agri value chain. We're able to support that because this particular partnership, unfortunately, is not open to all sectors. So this is a sector-specific partnership. So agribusiness, manufacturing, clean energy. So if you are in the clean space, this is an opportunity as well. And then we also look at ecotourism. I think the whole aspect of sustainability, you can see that there's a big drive around sustainability. So how do we just make sure that we are able to support those businesses that are looking at improving our environment? So through the partnerships, we are then able to ensure that we are at least able to mitigate the aspect of interest. So again, we are constantly looking for more partners because we do want to widen the base. We want every woman to be able to benefit from the partnerships and be able to get onward lending from the bank. Access to trade market is something that we also do. So again, looking at strategic partners like Zambia Development Agency, we are saying, how are we able to ensure that we are supporting women in accessing market? So for example, if you're in the textile, if you're, maybe in manufacturing and you're looking for a ready market, you want to have a market in another country. So we do have a footprint through Zambia Development Agency, ZDA, where we actually support clients to get into Congo. So before COVID, we actually used to take clients into China, but then COVID happened. But again, we are now looking at what other markets are we able to open. We also have Kasumbalesa, where we have a 24/7 agency. So again, just mitigating the fact that you may be carrying lots of money because that's a border town. We don't want you to have a risk, some form of risk because of the money that you're carrying. We actually have a 24/7 agency where you can make deposits, make withdrawals at the border. So ours is also trying to ensure that at any given point, we are looking for, sorry, Irene, I think you need to mute. We are looking for ready market that can be able to benefit clients. I think Venus also just mentioned the partnerships that we have with CEC. Again, how are we able to look at local off-takers, the likes of your big retail chain stores? Are we able to penetrate that for you? Maybe be able to make introductions, take your product there and say, look, this is one of our clients. the client needs shelf life in your stores. How are we able to help that? So we are constantly looking at ways in which we can support the businesses. And then access to business development skills. For us, this is the foundation. Before you can borrow, before you can get the market, do you actually have the right support when it comes to skill set? And business advisory is what it is. And we're giving it for free. Today is a free session. It's not a paid for session. It's one of many. So business development skills is really, really important. And that's why we have said, how can we ensure that for the rest of the year, we are holding such sessions? So by the time we come to the end of the year, we will be able to say we have supported as many businesses as possible. And this is not just for our women. If there is a gentleman out there, a brother, an uncle, a spouse who's running a business, it's free service. I think it doesn't get better than this, because you actually have experts in their fields who are taking time to come and give back. So business advisory really becomes important for us to build capacity. And the last one is business information. There's a lot of information out there, sector-specific information that you may not be privy to. We do have our global markets team. Whenever there are key economic pronouncements that are being made, we want to ensure that we have our women sitting on that table or joining online to hear the conversations of what does this pronouncement, whether it's the budget has been made and said, how does that actually impact your business at the end of the day? We want you to be part of those conversations. So I think very briefly, that is really who we are. And in terms of publicity, this is really why we have started it. We want to make the right level of noise to add value, not just to publicize for the sake of it. So we have posted the brochure in the comment, but I can see that it's not accessible. So we'll just try to see how we ensure that you're able to, we will attach it straight after this. It was attached, but I think I can see quickly that some people are not able to access it. So you'll be able to see that. So I think in a nutshell, Venus, that is who we are. And maybe coming to the end of the session before Venus gives us her last words, I think for me, key fundamentals that came out of this is understanding your financial status, separating your personal from business. It's interesting how many times we do get to have conversations with clients. They want to borrow, and you say, okay, fine, show us your bank statements or show us your business statements. I say, oh, but the money is sitting with me. How are we going to be able to assess you if all the money is sitting in your personal account? How will we know what was for business? And like Venus said, give yourself a salary. If you take money from the business, please pay the business back. You have to be able to separate the two. Even if it's 1 kwacha, give the business back the 1 kwacha you borrowed, because at that point, you're a debtor for the business. You're owing the business. So you should actually put yourself on the list of people owing the business. And then the credit scoring. I think for me, it was important to learn that even mobile money, it was actually a scary moment. Like, wait. So if I do the mobile money borrowing, CRB, there's a record there. So I think even as we are doing the Siliza and all those things, please, let's remember there's history being created. And at the point where you want to borrow, what does that history look like? Let's ensure that the history is positive. And then there was also an aspect of investing in your growth. What steps are we actually taking? So today is really testament of the steps that we're taking and monitoring your financial results. So for me, I think those were some of the key aspects: diversifying your business, your income streams, and maintaining a clean financial record, I think cannot be underscored. Venus, I think on behalf of the clients in the room and the clients online, we just want to sincerely thank you for today's session. I think the feedback does say that it was a great session, and we are grateful for your time. So maybe I'll just hand to you to be able to close the session, but thank you so much.
And so once again, thanks to everyone. I know it's a Thursday. People are supposed to be making money. So be it online or in the room, we appreciate you as Absa. And for us, your story matters. And we believe We are thriving because we're looking at each story at a time, and we want to be a part of that story and the growth of your success story. So literally saying, a few years from now, I should be able to see that multi-millionaire you're seeing there. We actually held their hand and were a part of their journey. And I just wanted to leave us with a thought. I don't know if you've ever seen between 5 to 10-year-old in their piggy bank, and then you borrow even a 10 kwacha, and how they will stress you to make sure that you pay it back. In these days, they're even more sophisticated. They're even charging with interest. You get 10 kwacha, you give me back 30 kwacha. So as we are looking at our businesses, let us have that mindset. Let us be selfish for our businesses to make sure that we're investing in their growth. So thank you very much. It was an honor. Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, we have come to the end of our session today. Please look out for the next session. We will have a session next week online on Thursday, so you will start to see on our socials and on email as well the next session that we will have. Coincidentally, the session will be on business, financial planning, and investment. So it is a good session coming out of this. We now have a good understanding of financial management. How do we then cascade into financial planning and investment? And every month from here onward, you will be joining us online. So please spread the word. Every single month, we will be hosting different leaders that will be coming to talk to us about various topics. So whether you're looking at it from leadership, even some of the laws, the business laws that you need to be aware of, HR, how are you managing your people? Even if you're just a sole trader, how are you managing yourself? You know, so those are important conversations that we need to have. So please look out on our Facebook page, on LinkedIn, on status. We do post a lot on status. WhatsApp as well is a channel that we use. And Instagram, you will see it on different channels. So as you see, please share. Let's share with our men as well. Let them be able to join, and let's just have a whole community where we're supporting each other. But thank you so much. And at this point, we will close the session. Thank you.
Thank you.